After dinner, his parents took his brother, Luo Hua, for a walk downstairs. Luo Feng on the other hand went to tutor. Around 6 p.m. the sky was almost completely dark. This tutoring job has to end for now. Luo Feng was like a leopard as he nimbly and swiftly moved through the alleys. Luo Feng was like a leopard as he nimbly and swiftly moved through the alleys. In front of him was a dead end, but Luo Feng's entire body leaped and directly soared over 2 meters into the air. His left hand lightly touched the top of the wall and with a bit of force, his entire body arrived in another alley. Flying forward was also a warm-up for tutoring. Luo Feng's current speed was maintained at 15 meters per second, which is 54 kilometers per hour. This speed wasn't Luo Feng's maximum speed, but it was enough for a warm-up. Oh, there's only 1 more month until the high school exams, so I'll stop tutoring for now. I've been tutoring for half a year, so I've earned 20,000. Luo Feng only found a tutoring job last year after receiving the title of elite student. He taught a youth basic agility technique. The salary was $100 an hour. Every week he would teach for an hour every night for 5 days. In other words, his monthly salary would be around $2,000. Dad's monthly salary would only be around $2,000 to $3,000 after working hard for a day. I've only been tutoring for an hour and I'm already this much higher than Dad. This is the difference between a normal person and an elite student. And if I become a fighter, the difference will be huge. Luo Feng's eyes focused. In the alleyway in front of him, there was a truck that was turning around and blocking the road. However, Luo Feng didn't slow down. As he ran, he suddenly leaped 2 to 3 meters into the air. Then he took 2 steps on the wall of the alleyway and leaped down, continuing to speed forward. After a while, Luo Feng was already outside a quiet residential area. This is where Mom and Dad should be. Luo Feng stopped and looked at the quiet residential area in front of him. Luo Feng stopped and looked at the quiet residential sector in front of him. This sector's residential population density was relatively low. There was a man-made pool inside, and there were large amounts of flowers and trees as decorations. Even the high-rise residential buildings had sky gardens on every floor. Other than the high-rise residential areas, there were also villas. You have to know. As of now, China has a total of 6 bases, which are the 6 main cities. Each city has an astonishing population. For example, Jiang Nian city has close to 200 million people. Naturally, land was very scarce. Stacked villas and townhouses were both very rare, and the prices were very high. As for the more extravagant, detached villas, they would have to pay a huge luxury tax. I'm going to block 18 number 1801, said Luo Feng to the security guard as he stood at the sector entrance. Wait a moment. The security of the sector pressed the number of the video phone. Instantly the camera on the side was pointed at Luo Feng. Owner 1801's voice came from the video phone. It's little Luo, let him in. Yes, sir. The security guard immediately let him in. 1 hour later, Luo Feng walked out of the sector. Well, the tutoring is over. Let's go to the dojo and see if my strength has improved recently. The Dojo of Limits, the world's #1 dojo, created by the world's strongest, Hong. Martial arts centers were spread all over the world. Luo Feng swiped his student ID at the entrance of the dojo and entered. The Dojo of Limits was like a huge monster. The area it occupied was even bigger than a high school. The main entrance of the dojo was wide enough for 10 cars to enter at the same time. Within the dojo there were 3 large silver-white buildings that looked like 3 spaceships. Senior. Hello, senior. On the road to the dojo, there were large amounts of dojo students on the grass. When these students saw the elite student ID on Luo Feng's chest, they immediately became respectful. Inside the dojo there were 3 large buildings. The beginner student building, the intermediate student building, and the advanced student building. The first and second floors of the advanced student building were both large lecture halls. Each of these large lecture halls could hold thousands of people. The dojo's instructors and teachers all taught in these large lecture halls. There were around 30,000 to 40,000 students in the Dojo of Limits. Only when you're 16 years old can you become a dojo student. After 30 years old, you're forbidden from coming to the dojo to study. There were around a few hundred advanced students in the dojo. Most of them were around 20 years old. And Luo Feng was only 18 years old. Luo Feng listened to the respectful greetings as he entered the 3rd floor of the advanced student building. This was where only advanced students could enter. On the 3rd floor, there were around a dozen people in the large training hall that was around 100 meters wide. Madman. Madman, you're here. After entering the large training hall, the dozen or so advanced students all greeted him enthusiastically. Brother Wang, Brother Yang, Sister Li. Luo Feng laughed as he yelled. Looking at these big brothers and sisters, he felt warm in his heart. These dozen or so people were all over 20 years old. Naturally, Luo Feng was the youngest. Of course, the advanced students in the Xian region's Dojo of Limits aren't just these dozen or so. There are over 100 advanced students in total. However, without a teacher to teach, most people are too lazy to come. Unless their family is poor and they don't have a place to train, only then would they come to the dojo's training hall to train. As for the rich, they usually had their own specialized training room. So, these dozen or so people all live in cheap rentals. Since they're all poor, they naturally formed a small group. And Luo Feng, because of his rage, defeated 3 advanced students from rich families in a row. He was given the nickname, Madman. I wonder how much my strength has improved in this half a month of training. Luo Feng walked towards the fist strength tester machine in the corner of the training hall. Luo Feng walked towards the fist strength testing machine in the corner of the training hall. There were 2 fist strength testing machines in the corner of the training hall. Whether it's the intermediate student exam, advanced student exam, or even the fighter exam, they all require fist strength to be tested. Huff huff. Luo Feng slowly took in a deep breath and completely relaxed his body. Suddenly, his gaze focused and his entire body was like a lazy lion that suddenly leapt up. His spine was like a bowstring that instantly tightened. The force from his feet traveled to his waist and through his spine. Luo Feng's right fist was like a cannonball that drew an arc. Peng. Luo Feng's right fist smashed onto the fist strength tester's target. The target violently shook. Suddenly, a number appeared on the screen of the fist strength tester. 809 kilograms. Madman, not bad. Hee, you passed the 800 kilograms barrier. A skinny brute that was over 1.9 meters tall laughed as he clapped his hands. This brute even had a hideous scar on his face. Brother Yang, Luo Feng laughed. Compared to Brother Yang, I'm still lacking quite a bit. Brother Yang, please help me turn on this speed tester machine. Brother Yang, named Yang Wu, is one of the top 3 advanced students in the dojo of limits. However, he's lacking in speed, otherwise he would have passed the prospective fighter exam long ago. For advanced students to become a fighter, you need to pass 2 exams. The first exam is the fighter fitness exam, which is also the prospective fighter exam. Once you pass, it means that your fitness level has reached the standard of a fighter. You're already a prospective fighter. And the second exam is the fighter combat exam. Just having fitness level doesn't give you the right to become a fighter. Only by passing a real battle with a monster can you obtain the title of fighter. Want to test my speed? Alright, Yang Wu laughed as he walked to the side of the track and turned on the speed tester. Ka. The speed tester turned on and the camera lit up. Huff huff, Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and stood on the track. The track was 60 meters long. And the area closest to the speed tester is the speed testing area. Luo Feng suddenly exerted force. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Luo Feng reached his maximum speed. His 2 legs stomped forcefully on the ground, creating a powerful force that caused his entire body to shoot like an arrow. With a gust of wind, Luo Feng charged past the speed tester's area with a schwa sound. After that, Luo Feng naturally slowed down and stopped. How much? Luo Feng laughed as he walked over. Hee, crazy, you've improved a bit since last time. Not bad, not bad. Brother Yang looked at the number displayed on the speed tester screen in shock and yelled, come see for yourself. Luo Feng walked over and the number on the screen was 23.8 milliseconds. Not bad. Luo Feng wasn't too happy. The fighter fitness level exam, which is also the prospective fighter exam, has a total of 3 tests. They are strength, fist strength, speed and reaction speed. In terms of reaction speed, Luo Feng is very talented. As of now, he barely meets the requirements of a fighter. However, for strength, fist strength, the passing threshold for the prospective fighter exam is 900 kilograms. For speed, the passing threshold for the prospective fighter exam is 25 meters per second, which is 100 meters in 4 seconds. It gets harder and harder to increase my strength, Luo Feng thought, from 23.8 meters per second to 25 meters per second. It'll probably take a year. And increasing my fist strength from 809 kilograms to 900 kilograms will probably take even longer. If I want to get the title of fighter, I'll probably have to wait until I enter university. If I faint again, then my body fitness level will probably reach the requirements of a fighter. Of course, the coma he wants isn't to be beaten into a coma. To have a headache and faint. Luo Feng has a headache. Every day he would have a headache, but he would endure it. And when the headache reaches its limit, he would faint. Ever since he was young, Luo Feng has fainted twice. When he was 8, his brother's leg was crushed by a car. At that time, Luo Feng was so sad that he suddenly felt an extreme headache. At the same time, his heart rate was shockingly fast and the blood flow in his body reached a shocking speed. He felt like his heart was going to jump out of his chest until he couldn't take it anymore and fainted. And when he was 12, his mother was hospitalized. Luo Feng, who was afraid of losing his mother, panicked and also had a terrible headache. His heart rate was shockingly fast and he fainted again. After fainting twice, his family brought Luo Feng to the hospital, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. Even now, the brain is still a difficult problem to solve in the medical field. However, the 2 fainting spells have strangely improved my physical fitness by a large margin. Luo Feng was looking forward to it. When I woke up from these 2 fainting times, my strength, speed and reflexes clearly increased a lot. This allowed me to directly pass the intermediate student exam and obtain the title of intermediate student when I entered the dojo at the age of 16. Because of my good foundation, I obtained the title of elite student when I was 17. If I can pass out again, my strength will definitely increase again. Fainting is the body's way of protecting itself, so it's not entirely a bad thing. Luo Feng has had headaches since he was young, but after he fainted for the first time when he was 8, he realized that the headaches lessened quite a bit. When he was 12, he fainted again. The headaches lessened again. With this trend, if I can faint again, the headaches will lessen again. After fainting once or twice, maybe the headaches will disappear forever. Luo Feng was very hopeful. After all, fainting once will lessen his headaches. And his body fitness level will also increase. Unfortunately, fainting was not something that could be done just because one wanted to. It had only happened twice in his life. When the headache reaches its limit, the heartbeat will also reach its limit. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the watch on his wrist. This was a watch with a pulse function. But even if I run at my limit, my heart won't beat more than 120 times a minute. Luo Feng looked at his watch. How good would it be if my heart could beat 200 times a minute? The signs before fainting are an extremely painful headache and an extremely fast heartbeat. Unfortunately, no matter how intense the exercise was, his heart rate could not be so fast that he would faint from a headache. In the training hall, Yang Luo, who had a scar on his face, stood in front of the fist strength testing machine. He didn't even gather his strength seriously. He just casually punched the target with both his fists. Bang, bang. A series of low punching sounds rang out, and a series of numbers flowed across the screen of the punching machine. 956 kilograms, 912 kilograms, 936 kilograms, 981 kilograms. Yang Luo punched dozens of times in one breath before stopping. Luo Feng, who was watching on the side, couldn't help but to be envious. His full-strength punch was only 809 kilograms. If Brother Yang continuously punched, it would be pretty good if the strength of each punch exceeded 700 kilograms. Brother Yang, when will my full-strength punch have the strength of your casual punch? That would be great. Luo Feng laughed on the side. You kid. Yang Luo walked over and laughed as he patted Luo Feng's shoulder. You're only 19 this year, just 18. When your brother Yang was your age, I was only an intermediate member of the dojo. With your improvement speed, you can definitely reach the fighter fitness level in 2 years. Hee hee. A 20-year-old fighter sure makes people jealous. Luo Feng laughed. The dojo recruits students between the ages of 16 and 30 because this is the stage where one matures the fastest. The earlier one becomes a fighter, the more powerful they will be in the future. Luo Feng became an elite member of the dojo at the age of 17 last year. Indeed, many people were jealous. Oh yeah, crazy, you're about to take your high school exams, right? What are you going to do after that? Yang Luo laughed. I'm preparing to enter military school. Luo Feng slightly laughed. Normal military school recruits students who only become basic officers of the regular army after graduation. As for me, entering some special forces after graduation shouldn't be a problem. Oh. Yang Luo curled his lips after hearing this. Entering military school is good, but I feel like your freedom will be limited. After you graduate from military school and enter the special forces, you'll have to follow the rules of the army. I can't take it, so it's better to be a free fighter. A free fighter isn't bad. Luo Feng shook his head. However, I don't want my parents to worry. After entering military school, I'll enter the army. At least in terms of safety, it's much better than being a free fighter. A fighter usually has 4 paths. The first path is to join the army and become a member. The good thing about this is that it's much safer. The country won't easily let a fighter take risks. The country will also give a fighter's family a lot of benefits, so that the fighter won't have to worry about his family. The second path is to join the dojo. The dojo's management system is relatively loose, so it belongs to a relatively loose group. The Dojo of Limits was created by the world's strongest fighter, Hong. After becoming a fighter of the Dojo of Limits, there are quite a few benefits. The third path is to join some corporation, some family, some large power, etc. and become a hired thug. The fourth path is to join the mercenary army. This is the kind where you risk your life, the most dangerous and the most free. Entering the army is safe. However, I don't want to live a life of no freedom. Yang Luo shook his head. This year I'll probably participate in the prospective fighter exam again. I should be able to pass. Once I pass, I'll immediately participate in the fighter combat exam, and work hard to become a fighter this year. LuoFeng's eyes flashed. Brother Yang, you have confidence in passing the prospective fighter exam? Ha! Yang Luo laughed. I've already met the 3 fitness tests, fist strength and reflexes. My weakness is speed. However, right now, if I perform well, I can barely reach 25 meters per second. If I work hard these few days, I should be able to pass the exam. Brother Yang, congratulations. Luo Feng was happy for Brother Yang, since Brother Yang has been fighting for many years to become a fighter. Brother Yang, what are you going to do after you become a fighter? Of course I'll join the Dojo of Limits. Yang Luo smiled. The Dojo of Limits system is very relaxed. Plus, the dojos are spread all over the world. There are many senior fighters, which is very beneficial to my development. Besides, I can rest whenever I want and go out to hunt monsters whenever I want. I have a lot of freedom. Luo Feng nodded. Madman. Yang Luo looked at Luo Feng. You're crazy deep down, kid. I won't make a mistake. I feel like you're very suited to walk the path of a free fighter. How much freedom would one have if they joined a dojo? The Dojo of Limits will also help us a lot. Luo Feng hesitated. Seeing this, Yang Luo shook his head and laughed. Lunatic, independent cultivators often go through fire and water, tempering themselves between life and death. It was more dangerous. But at the same time, because they often fought on the edge of life and death, their strength improved the fastest. Look, no matter where you go, the majority of the experts among the martial artists are independent martial artists. At night, the street lights were on. Luo Feng, who left the Dojo of Limits, silently walked by himself on the sidewalk. What Yang Luo said to him before really affected him. There are actually 2 paths that are suitable for me. Luo Feng thought to himself. 1 is to enter a military academy and smoothly graduate. After that, I'll enter the special forces. The second is to become a fighter. After joining the Dojo of Limits and becoming a fighter under the name of the Dojo of Limits, I'll be able to freely hunt monsters. Of these two paths, the first is to enter a military academy. High safety and good family welfare. Even if I die in battle, the country will take good care of my family. The second path is to become an independent fighter. Frequently fighting on the edge of life and death will increase my strength quickly. Hunting monsters can also be exchanged for huge amounts of money, which makes money quickly. This path. Dangerous, increases strength quickly, makes money quickly, and is free. The only downside is that it's dangerous. Luo Feng kept thinking. Actually, he's been thinking about this problem for the past year. My parents only have 2 sons. My brother is already disabled. If I become an independent fighter and die in a battle, what will my parents do for the rest of their lives? My brother needs someone to take care of him. My parents are getting old. If I die, what will happen to them? I'll enter a military academy. In the future, when I enter the special forces, I can also learn military martial arts. Combined with the extreme martial arts I learned in the Dojo of Limits, my strength should be able to increase again. In the military, I can also train my strength. And even if I die in the military as a fighter, the country will still give my parents a pension every month. Luo Feng thought for his parents' sake and chose to enter a military academy. However, a military academy isn't a place you can enter just because you want to. You also need to have high academic grades. Everything will depend on June's high school exams. A month before the exams, Luo Feng spent almost all of his energy on studying. As he continued to revise and test after test, Luo Feng became more and more confident in his exams. I'm 90% sure that I'll be able to get into Jiang Nian's top military school. This was what Luo Feng was thinking. The 7th of June was the first day of the college entrance examination. China's high school exams were held on June 7th, 8th and 9th, the same as before the Grand Nirvana period. Jian District No. 1 High School. According to the exam arrangements, Luo Feng, who was originally a student of the 3rd high school, will take his high school exams in this high school. Daughter, do your best. Don't worry, Dad. Tian, don't give yourself too much pressure. Outside the first senior high school's gate, a large number of college entrance examination candidates and their parents had gathered. Outside the first senior high school's gate, there was also a row of policemen armed with live ammunition. Little Feng, you have to relax during the exam. Even if our family can't get into the top military academy, the 2nd military academy is fine. Relax. Father Luo Hongguo looked at his son and said with a smile. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Beep, beep. Along with the loud sound of a car horn, a black Mercedes-Benz S600, full of aristocratic aura, slowly drove towards the gate of the first high school under the escort of several police motorcycles. The surrounding examinees' parents immediately moved to the side, their gazes all focused on the car. The latest Mercedes-Benz S600 could accelerate to 100 km per hour in 1.6 seconds, and the maximum speed could reach 500 km per hour. Of course, this bit of performance wasn't much. The Mercedes-Benz S600 was a brand that had been passed down since the Grand Nirvana period. Its history was what attracted people the most. 3 people got out of the Mercedes-Benz S600 and walked toward the school gate while talking and laughing. The baldy on the left is Chief Zhang of our Jian District's police station. The one on the right is Director Lu of the Education Bureau, right? The one in the middle must be the martial artist in charge of the examination venue's security. Outside the examination hall, a large number of parents and examinees were engaged in a heated discussion. Most of their gazes were focused on the person in the middle. Their gazes were filled with excitement, worship, and curiosity. Currently, the battle between humans and monsters was still ongoing. Ordinary people were forbidden from leaving the boundaries of the city, while martial artists were existences that could fight one-on-one with monsters. The entire human society was also very grateful to the warriors, grateful for their great contributions to humanity. Ordinary people naturally admired martial artists. Warriors belonged to a group of people with a transcendent status in the human community. That's a martial artist. His father Luo Hongguo also looked at that person. Every time the security of the college entrance examination venue is commanded by a martial artist. Martial artist. Luo Feng looked over. That fighter gave off a feeling that made one's heart palpitate. His eyes were like the cold eyes of a venomous snake and he didn't smile on the way. Facing the police chief and Director Lu of the Education Bureau, this martial artist just nodded indifferently from time to time, simply too lazy to pay attention to them. In the near future, I will also obtain the title of fighter. Luo Feng thought to himself. Kaka. The gate of the first senior high school slowly opened. It's time to enter. Immediately a voice rang out. Little Feng, it's time to enter. Hurry up and go in. His father Luo Hongguo said. Beside him, his mother Gong Xinlan also said, Go quickly, Mom will go back and cook for you later. Your dad and brother will wait here for you to finish your exams. Yes. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Brother. Luo Hua sat in his wheelchair and raised his fist towards Luo Feng as he smiled. You have to do your best. Do your best. Luo Feng also raised his fist. After that, Luo Feng turned around and joined the crowd of examinees. After going through the inspection, he passed through the school gate one by one. In the exam room, the exam ID and exam ID were placed on the top right corner of the table for the examiner to check. The exam papers were then handed out. 2056 Jiangnan City College Entrance Exam, Exam A. The clear line on the top of the exam paper. The first exam is the science exam. Looking at the exam paper in front of him, Luo Feng scanned it and then looked at the last few big questions. He seemed to have seen them before. The questions this time shouldn't be too hard. If the questions aren't hard, then it'll be hard for me to use my advantage in science, so I can only carefully answer the questions and try my best not to lose points. Luo Feng immediately started writing. There were 3 exams in the college entrance examination: the science exam, the liberal arts exam, and the final math exam. The maximum score for each exam is 250 points, so the total score is 750 points. The science exam is a combination of physics, chemistry, and biology. The liberal arts exam is a combination of language, history, politics, and geography. The mathematics exam was naturally about mathematics. After humanity's grand nirvana period, especially with the continuous battles between humans and monsters, humans desperately researched technology and martial arts. This made everyone clearly understand the importance of math. Anyone who wants to achieve great things in the fields of computers, biology, and physics requires a solid foundation in math. So, mathematics had a very high status in the education system. Luo Feng is a bit weaker in liberal arts, but has a huge advantage in math. 7th of June, science exam. 8th of June, liberal arts exam. In the blink of an eye, it was already 9th of June. In the exam room, the math exam papers were just handed out. This is the math exam. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. The science exam isn't hard, but I should be able to do pretty well. I'll also do well in the liberal arts exam. In other words, I should be able to do well in both the science and liberal arts exams. As long as I don't mess up too much in the math exam, I'll definitely be able to get into Jiang Nian's top military academy. Work hard. After encouraging himself, Luo Feng lowered his head and started answering the questions. The entire exam room was silent. Quite a few students frowned. Clearly the questions were quite difficult. Every year's college entrance examination, the difficulty of the math questions isn't low. After all, this is for the sake of selecting future researchers. This is quite hard. Luo Feng also felt the difficulty of the questions. It's even harder than last year. However, the harder the better. If the questions were simple, those who were worse than him in math would probably get 220 points. He would probably only get 230 points. His advantage was very small. However, if the questions were difficult, he might only get 210 points, but those who were worse than him might only get 150 points. That would be a huge advantage. Pa! A crisp sound was heard. The exam invigilator immediately looked over and saw a student actually break the ballpoint pen in his hand. This student frowned and clenched his teeth. He lowered his head and stared at the exam. Clearly this math question was way too difficult. After that, this student threw the broken pen in his hand to the side and took out another ballpoint pen to continue answering the exam. Looking at the looks of the students, this year's math exam is going to be very difficult, the invigilator thought to himself. Indeed, almost everyone in the exam room was frowning and thinking hard. Quite a few students were so anxious that they started crying. The students who were already bad at math felt like they couldn't answer this question, couldn't answer that question, couldn't answer the third question. After seeing this exam, the students almost collapsed. 1 hour later in the exam room, the math exam took a total of 2.5 hours. At this time, Luo Feng finished the multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank questions. All that was left was the calculation questions. In the math exam, the multiple choice questions and fill-in-the-blank questions added up to a total of 90 points. And the calculation questions had 5 big questions. The total score for these 5 questions was 160 points. After all, only the big calculation questions could better reveal a student's math ability. This is really hard. I couldn't even solve 2 of the fill-in-the-blank questions. Luo Feng took a deep breath. Next up are the calculation questions. This is the key to getting points. If you write one more question, it will be a difference of 30 or 40 points. There were 5 calculation questions. The first 4 questions were worth 30 points, while the last one was worth 40 points. Luo Feng faced a difficult problem in front of the first calculation question. On the toilet paper, Luo Feng continuously calculated and thought, yeah, if I change the shape of this and reverse it, wouldn't I be able to convert it into the equations I need? Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Once he figured out how to solve this difficult problem, it became much easier to write. He wrote out the first question in one breath and then carefully checked it again. Yeah, the first question succeeded. Luo Feng looked at the watch on his left wrist and his heart jumped. The first question took me 20 minutes? I need to hurry up. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the second question. At first glance, Luo Feng felt that it was easy and immediately started calculating on the toilet paper. Yeah, not right. Luo Feng realized that he wasn't thinking straight and immediately frowned in thought. As time passed, Luo Feng continuously researched this question. Yeah, it should be like this. But how do I verify the next proof? Luo Feng's brain was rapidly thinking. Hurry, 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 I can't waste too much time on this question. How do I prove it? Luo Feng was anxious. At this time, on the watch on Luo Feng's left hand, the pulse number started to rise. 120, 125, 130, 140, 150. Just a little bit more and I can prove this question. I'll get 30 points. How do I deal with this? Luo Feng was getting more and more anxious. Time has to be allocated for exams, but the math calculation questions are worth a lot of points. Every exam candidate can't make too many mistakes in math questions if they want to do well. At this time, Luo Feng, who was completely focused on the exam questions, didn't notice the pulse on his watch at all. 160. 170. 180. Luo Feng felt his heart speed up, but he thought it was because of his anxiety during the exam, so he didn't care. Dong, dong, dong. Luo Feng suddenly felt as if his heart was being knocked by someone. His vision became blurry and he finally woke up. What's wrong with me? Why is my heart so uncomfortable? Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the pulse reading on his watch. 230? This number made Luo Feng's face change dramatically. Ever since he passed out when he was 12 and bought this watch, Luo Feng has never seen his heart rate go over 180. So uncomfortable. Luo Feng felt as if his heart was about to jump out of his chest. The blood in his body continuously expanded and contracted under the power of his heart. Large amounts of blood flowed and an invisible energy entered the depths of Luo Feng's brain. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his brain. Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a sound. Examinee, what's wrong? The proctor hurried over and looked at Luo Feng in shock. At this time, Luo Feng's face was red as if blood was about to drip out. The veins on his forehead and arms were bulging and pulsating, making him look extremely ferocious. No, slow down. Luo Feng had a bad premonition and roared in his heart as he stared at his watch. 236. 242. 251. His heart was like a huge drum as it let out a low rumbling sound. His blood flowed rapidly. As his vision blurred, he saw the number 268. The sharp pain in his head caused Luo Feng to instantly faint. While he was unconscious, he faintly heard a voice. Examinee, wake up. Hurry and call an ambulance. Ding ding ding. The urgent ringing of the bell reverberated throughout the campus of Jian District's No. 1 high school. The anxious parents who were originally sitting on the lawn or on the road outside the examination venue immediately stood up one by one. He peered into the campus through the railings of the wall. The bustling examinees all left the examination hall. The college entrance exam of Jiang Nian City in 2056 officially ended. What the candidates needed to do next was to wait for the final exam scores in a week's time. How by? A slightly bald, seemingly scholarly middle-aged man stood at the school gate, smiling as he shouted at his son who was walking out of the examination hall. Dad, Zhang Haobai smiled as he walked over. How was the exam? The middle-aged man asked with a smile. Zhang Haobai shook his head and said helplessly, I can only say I did okay this time, but the math questions were really hard. From multiple choice questions to fill in the blanks to calculation questions, there were a lot of problems. Especially the calculation questions. Out of the 5 calculation questions, I only managed to solve 2. As for the other 3 questions, I can only try my best to answer part of them. I should be able to get some marks according to the steps. The 5 math questions tested the students' thinking. Naturally, they would be graded according to the steps. Oh. Zhang Haobai's father Zhang Zilong frowned. Looks like your math score will be lower this time. It's okay. Dad. Difficult. It was difficult for all the examinees. I'm not the only one. Zhang Haobai laughed. The math questions are a bit harder, so the final score will be a bit lower. It shouldn't be a problem for me to enter the military academy. All right. Zhang Zilong smiled and said, previously we were waiting at the school gate for you to finish the exam. That famous examinee from your school named Luo Feng actually fainted in the middle of the exam, around an hour before the end of the exam. Fainted in the exam room? Zhang Haobai widened his eyes. Dad, you're talking about Luo Feng? Yeah, that Luo Feng was taken away by the ambulance. Many people saw it, nodded Zhang Zilong. Listen, many parents are talking to their children about this. Luo Feng fainted? Zhang Haobai looked around and listened carefully. Sure enough, a large amount of parents and children were talking about the examinee that fainted in the exam room. Zhang Haobai clearly heard quite a few people talking about Luo Feng. To think that this poor kid would have such a day. Zhang Haobai couldn't help but laugh. Dad, you don't know this, but when we were at school, this guy always caused trouble for me. Zhang Haobai said angrily, because he's stronger than me, he's always pressuring me. Even this guy has a day like this. Zhang Haobai was extremely happy. His anger towards Luo Feng had reached its peak. In reality, Luo Feng never cared about Zhang Haobai, but Zhang Haobai always treated Luo Feng as his opponent. Luo Feng surpassed him in both academics and martial arts, so naturally he felt bad. This little fellow has never seen the world. The psychological pressure was too great, and if one couldn't bear it, they would collapse. Leave him alone. Let's go. Your uncle knows that you finished your college entrance examination today, so he personally booked a banquet for you. Let's go, Zhang Zilong said with a smile. Uncle? Zhang Haobai's eyes lit up. The reason why the Zhang family could be considered the wealthiest in the Jian district was because of his uncle, because his uncle was a martial artist. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Wei Wen, who had just come out of the examination hall, was anxious in front of his parents. How could Feng have fainted in the examination hall? Impossible. Let's not talk about other things, but Feng's mental strength, even in the dojo of limits, is praised by the teachers. Wei Wen and Luo Feng weren't blood brothers, but they were closer than blood brothers. How could this be fake? We saw it with our own eyes. That Luo Feng's dad and his wheelchair-bound brother all rushed to the hospital, Wei Wen's father said. Hospital? It should be the nearest hospital. Dad, Mom, I'll go see Luo Feng first. I'll eat lunch later. As he said that, Wei Wen gave his exam supplies to his parents and ran towards the hospital. Jian District's People's Hospital. Luo Feng squeezed out a smile as he walked out of the hospital's lobby with his father and brother. At this time, Luo Honghua and Luo Hua were worried that Luo Feng suffered too much. Dad, I'm fine. Let's go eat. Luo Feng had a calm look on his face. Even though he was a bit unwilling, Luo Feng knew that what had happened couldn't be changed. All he could do was accept it. Ah Feng, ah Feng. A voice came from afar. Luo Feng raised his head and saw a shadow running towards the entrance of the hospital. It was his good brother, Wei Wen. Luo Feng was a bit moved as he saw Wei Wen rush over with his clothes drenched in sweat. He then asked, "Wen, how hard are the last 3 math questions?" He didn't even have the time to finish the last 3 questions. If the last 3 questions were so difficult that most people couldn't answer them, then he would be able to finish them. There was still hope for his results. It's quite difficult. Wei Wen nodded. This year's mathematics questions are very difficult. There are 5 calculation questions. It seems like only the 3rd question is slightly easier. The other 4 questions are very difficult. Not bad. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. He still had a glimmer of hope. At 8:00 p.m. on the 16th of June, after the college entrance examination, students could check their college entrance examination results through the phone or the internet. Moreover, the cutoff score for the college entrance examination would also be released at the same time. June 16th, 7:00 at night. In Luo Feng's home, Luo Feng and Luo Hua's room was only Luo Feng. The door was closed and Luo Feng was sitting in front of his laptop. The mouse in his hand kept refreshing the webpage. The college entrance examination results started at 8:00 p.m., but it usually starts a bit earlier. I'm afraid I won't be able to get into Jiang Nian's top military academy this time. However, I wrote multiple choice questions, fill in the blank questions, and the first 2 calculation questions. Even though I didn't completely solve the second question, I still wrote quite a few steps. They should give me some points based on the steps, Luo Feng thought to himself. If I'm lucky, I should be able to get around 120 points in math. Luo Feng was hoping. Both the liberal arts and science exams are normal. If I'm lucky, I should be able to get into the college entrance examination. As long as I can get into the college entrance examination, I'll be able to get into the second military academy. Of the 2 military academies, the first military academy is obviously better. However, it requires a lot of points. Luo Feng didn't have much hope. However, according to Luo Feng's own estimates, there's still some hope for the second military academy. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. The college entrance examination results page was refreshed. My God, please help me and let me get into the college entrance examination. As long as I get into the college entrance examination, I'll be able to get into the second military academy. Luo Feng was nervous. He entered his name, ID number and exam ID number on the college entrance examination results page and then clicked, Inquiry. Whoosh. The page of the laptop flashed and a table appeared. Examinee, Luo Feng. Gender, male. ID number, 4261232038060832211. Exam ID number, 58786435678907766. Liberal arts, 216. Science, 223. Math, 118. College entrance examination, 557. 557 points, and the benchmark is 561? Luo Feng took a deep breath. Just 4 points. Just because of these 4 points, he won't have the chance to go to the military academy. 12 years of education and this is the result. If I can't go to the military academy, then I can't go to the military academy. What's the big deal? Luo Feng's gaze froze. His right hand formed a blade and slashed forward. The air vibrated violently due to the blade's extreme speed, letting out a sound that made one's heart tremble. Being unconscious this time has raised my strength by a lot. Maybe my current fitness level has already reached the level of a fighter. I can pass the prospective fighter exam. Even if it's just a little bit, it's not that big of a difference. If I train hard for 1 or 2 months, I should be able to pass the prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng's adaptability is very strong. Not being able to pass the benchmark for the college entrance exam was a huge blow to him. However, the coma increased his fitness level once again, which gave him confidence. After all, the status of a military academy graduate is far below that of a fighter. Luo Feng opened the door and entered the living room. In the living room, his parents Luo Honghua, Gong Xinlan, and his brother Luo Hua all turned their heads. Gong Xinlan even stood up and walked towards Luo Feng. Feng, you can't be blamed for this exam. You can only blame your headache. Sai, why did it act up now? It hasn't acted up in years. Bro, you won't be hurt, right? Luo Hua sat in his wheelchair and joked. Before, when Luo Feng was checking his grades in his room, his parents and brother found out his exam grades through Luo Hua's laptop. They found out that Luo Feng was only 4 points away from the benchmark. Even though they were a bit disappointed, they were more worried about Luo Feng. Luo Feng laughed. Of course I won't be hurt. Dad, Mom, don't blame this headache. Honestly, should we thank this headache? Thank? Luo Honghua, Gong Xinlan, and the wheelchair-bound Luo Hua were all stunned. The college entrance exam is a major event in one's life. Now that Luo Feng's exam was ruined by his headaches, how could he thank his headaches? Dad Mom Hua. Luo Feng smiled. When I was young I had 2 headaches that made me faint. In fact, after waking up both times, I felt like my strength had increased by quite a bit and I could run faster. This time, it was the same. I can feel that my physical fitness is much stronger than before. I think I can pass the prospective martial artist examination. What? Luo Hongguo, Gong Xan Lan and Luo Hua looked at each other. Brother, are you serious? Luo Hua couldn't help but ask. Of course it's true. Luo Feng slightly smiled. After passing the prospective fighter exam, you can apply for the fighter combat exam. I'm very confident in my actual combat ability. Maybe I can become a martial artist this year. His father Luo Hongguo, his mother Gong Xan Lan, and his brother Luo Hua were all stunned by this news. A martial artist. What did that mean? They represented the group of people with the most extraordinary status in the human race, and represented special privileges. It represented a large amount of money. It represented a high and mighty position. And once you become a martial artist, the benefits you bring to your family are much better than becoming an elite student in a military academy. Our family is going to have a martial artist? Luo Hua couldn't help but to yell, "Ha brother, I worship you. Feng, that's great." Luo Hongguo also excitedly patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Becoming a martial artist is great. Compared to a martial artist, what's a military academy graduate? As of today the entire human society worships and respects martial artists. Seeing his parents and brother so happy, Luo Feng laughed. Dad Mom, but I haven't passed the exam yet so I can't be too happy. An 18-year-old martial artist? Luo Hua couldn't help but to yell in excitement. If my brother really becomes an 18-year-old martial artist then that's too. Awesome. The next day at 5 a.m. the sky was just starting to brighten. Luo Feng left home and headed towards the dojo of limits. There sure aren't many people at this time. After Luo Feng entered the dojo of limits, he realized that there were only about 100 people in the entire dojo of limits. Keep in mind that there are around 30,000 to 40,000 students in the dojo of limits. Every time the dojo teacher teaches they teach at night. Night is when the dojo is the most crowded. Walking on the road, Luo Feng directly headed towards the elite student building. Rumble, a low sound of air waves carried over. Huh. Luo Feng couldn't help but to turn his head and look. All he saw was a beautiful white sports car slowly driving into the dojo of limits. Luo Feng couldn't help but to take a closer look and couldn't help but to take in a deep breath. An Aston Martin sports car? And it's the newest and most expensive one with the ability to fly, Teacher 191? His brother really likes sports cars. When he was at home he also praised this Teacher 191 to Luo Feng. So it's an Aston Martin. It's a 191, this one has the ability to fly. In the dojo of limits, the few students that were already there were all attracted over. This car costs 36 million Chinese dollars. At this time the sports car stopped in front of the elite student building. The car door opened and a man with short red hair wearing a loose training uniform walked out. His hair was clearly dyed. His eyes casually scanned the surroundings, passing through the normal dojo students and pausing on Luo Feng for a bit. After that he didn't say anything and directly entered the teaching building. A fighter. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. The fighter's eyes just now made Luo Feng feel pressured. This is the eyes of someone who has experienced countless life and death battles and has a will of steel. I've never seen this fighter in the dojo of limits before. What's he doing in the dojo of limits? Luo Feng also entered the training hall on the 3rd floor of the dojo of limits. The spacious training hall was empty. There wasn't a single person in sight. Right now it was only 5 a.m. Even at night, when people are at their busiest, there wouldn't be more than 20 people here, let alone this early in the morning. I want to see just how strong I am now, Luo Feng thought to himself. He plugged in the fist strength tester machine and turned on the switch. He then turned on the speed tester machine in the distance. He stood in front of the fist strength tester machine. Let's begin. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. With his waist as the center, a powerful force was emitted from his waist. After that, his spine suddenly arched like a huge python, creating a powerful force that passed through his arm. After that, Luo Feng's fist was like a bolt of lightning as it smashed onto the machine with a ping sound. Beep beep beep. The fist strength tester machine let out 3 continuous sounds. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Normally, the fist strength tester machine wouldn't make these kinds of sounds. When it does, it means one thing, a fist strength over 1,000 kilograms. Luo Feng stared at the display of the fist strength tester machine, 1,089 kilograms. So much. Luo Feng was ecstatic. A fighter's fitness level requires a fist strength of 900 kilograms. Before, his fist strength was 809 kilograms, but now it's actually reached 1,089 kilograms. Suddenly, it increased by 280 kilograms. Far above the passing mark. Ah! Luo Feng excitedly punched with both fists like lightning. His entire body swayed left and right. With a ping-ping sound, Luo Feng punched over 20 times in the blink of an eye. And a series of numbers appeared on the screen of the fist strength tester machine. 956 kilograms, 989 kilograms, 923 kilograms, 965 kilograms. I'll go test my speed. Luo Feng turned his head and walked towards the track. As long as my speed passes and with my reaction speed I've already passed. Then I'll definitely pass the prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng adjusted his breathing. Whoosh. Like a cannonball, his entire body shot out and swiftly passed through the track. On the 4th floor of the advanced student building, a red-haired man was walking shoulder to shoulder with a black-clothed bald middle-aged man. Yan Luo, how long has it been since we last met? The bald middle-aged man smiled. Almost 3 years. That little brat from back then is now a famous person. I heard that you earned close to 100 million Earth dollars this time, hee. When I see you I feel like I'm old. Just good luck, laughed the red-haired man. Brother Jiang, back then you? Beep beep beep. The weak sound from downstairs made the two of them look at each other in surprise. The fist strength tester machine downstairs is the most basic fist strength tester machine. When you hit 1,000 kilograms, it will make this sound, said the bald middle-aged man in surprise. Someone came to train at 5 a.m. in the morning, and one punch can hit over 1,000 kilograms. Could it be that Yang Wu? Won't we know if we go take a look? Oh. One dressed in black, one dressed in white. These two became two illusions as they walked down the stairs. In the blink of an eye, they went from the 4th floor to the training hall on the 3rd floor. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man and the white-clothed short-haired man stood side by side as they looked at the training hall. At this time, Luo Feng was standing in front of the track as he flew past. 28.1 ms. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man and the white-clothed red-haired man both saw the numbers displayed on the speed tester machine screen. This Luo Feng's fist strength is over 1,000 kilograms, and his speed actually reached 28.1 meters per second. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man was a bit shocked. Brother Jiang, this kid isn't that old, right? He actually reached the fighter fitness level requirement, said the red-clothed middle-aged man in surprise. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man nodded. Yeah, his name is Luo Feng. He's one of the more talented students in our dojo. He just turned 18 this year. 18 years old? That young? The red-haired man's eyes couldn't help but to light up. At this time, Luo Feng, who discovered the two people at the door, couldn't help but be shocked. The red-haired man was the fighter who drove the sports car here, and the black-clothed bald middle-aged man was the head of the dojo of limits, Jiang Nian, the person with the most power. According to the rules of the dojo of limits, the students all call him instructor. Instructor, yelled Luo Feng as he saluted. Come here. Instructor Jiang Nian laughed as he yelled. I didn't think Luo Feng would reach the fighter fitness level requirement so quickly. Let me introduce you, this is your senior, Yan Luo. Yan Luo, I'll tell him your name, is that okay? No problem. Yan Luo looked at Luo Feng and nodded. This kid, he reached the fighter fitness level requirement at such a young age. Maybe in the future he'll be able to interact with me. Jiang Nian looked at Luo Feng and laughed. Luo Feng, you're 18 years old, so it should be this year's college entrance exam. Who cares about this year's exam? What's the point of going to school? You can just focus on preparing for the fighter combat exam. Oh, right, on July 1st, go to Yangzhou City's dojo of limits and take the prospective fighter exam. With your current strength, it'll be easy to pass. College entrance exam? Laughed Yan Luo on the side. Don't waste your time in college. You're quite talented. No matter what you do, you need to put your heart and soul into it. Right now, you need to put all of your energy into the path of martial arts. Kid, when you become a fighter and join our dojo of limits, you'll have a bright future. These two fighters have extremely high statuses. They don't even spare a glance for the rich and powerful in society. As for Luo Feng, who is about to enter the ranks of fighters at such a young age, they are looking forward to it. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.